Welcome to INN's Student. INN Student is a platform for law students to come here and deliver a lecture on the topic of their choice. Today we have with us law student Sameeksha Kargutkar. She is going to speak on defamation. She is from KES Shri Jayantilal Patel College of Law. So without wasting further time, I would request Sameeksha to commence with her lecture. Thank you.
You can't buy a good reputation, you must earn it. A famous quote by Henry Mackay. My sincere greetings to everyone present here today. Now imagine this hard-built reputation of yours is tarnished by someone. Outrageous, right? But what if I tell you there's a legal way to address this? Welcome to today's topic, defamation. We'll be discussing definition of defamation, who can be defamed, types, its key elements, defenses, and a clear distinction between civil and criminal defamation. And to end it all, we'll discuss a landmark judgment. So let's address the elephant in the room. What exactly is defamation? In its legal sense, defamation is defined as whoever, by words, either spoken or intended, to be read, or by signs or by visual representation, makes or publishes in any manner any imputations concerning any person intending to harm or knowing or having reasons to believe that such imputations will harm the reputation of such person is said to be a defamation of a person. Now, to simplify this complex legal wordings, defamation is basically any false statement made with an intentional intention to harm another person's reputation. Now we'll delve into who exactly can be defamed. First one would be a but obvious. Any living persons, you, me, anyone can be defamed as long as we have a reputation in society. Second would be a deceased person. Now obviously this is out of a blue. A deceased person can be defamed because once they die, they extinguish all their rights. But the catch in the law is a deceased person, though died, they'd still enjoy the right to remain reputed. So the family on behalf of the deceased person can sue the defamer for defaming the person. Third would be groups and companies. So groups, companies, association are qualified as legal persons or legal entities as we call it, and even put forthing any false information or any defamatory statements against these companies and association can be sued for defamation. Going ahead, defamation is widely categorized into two sections. One would be libel and the other is slander. Now, libel is a permanent form of defamation. So, any false statement that is published. Now, here publication can be in various forms, not ranging from a traditional newspaper to a modern blog, even a YouTube video which remains on the surface of internet for an finite period of time can be considered as libel. And then we come over to slander. Slander is a temporary form of defamation wherein you might have come across people gossiping, rumoring, or even back talking about you. This can be considered as slander. Here the thing is there is no watertight distinction, because both even in libel and in slander, both the places you are getting defamed, there is some sort of harm caused to your reputation. But the thing is, libel is where permanent and grave amount of harm is caused, and slander is temporary where the rumors might just flit away, or people might just tend to forget about things because it is not put forth or published anywhere. Better understand with an example. Let's say Sita, a fellow student of yours, assumes or claims that you have copied or bribed your way through your exams. Now we'll take this example with the problem of libel and slander. If she put forth this claim through a student forum, she publishes it through a student forum, and everyone in your circle gets to know, that would be libel, because a grave harm is caused to her reputation, since the rumors or the claims that the student has made is there on the is published for a longer period of time. Whereas if she just shouts this statement, if she just makes an announcement about it in a small student reunion or even at a student reunion, this will be considered as a slander, because first of all, no one has a record of it. Second, the people hearing, even if people have heard about it, it might just go away, people might forget, it would just be a fleeting statement. So it would consider as slander. To better remember, libel is more towards your eyes and ears because you see, you read it, and you might hear it through any audiovisual medium. And slander is more towards your mouth because it is wherein people stay, like, they just share the statements that you have made, or any assumptions or claims that you have made are basically shared through words or spoken gestures. Going ahead, we have key elements. Now, these four key elements make any statement a defamatory statement. First would be the statement must be defamatory. Now, if you just make a statement that the movie was bad, it is just share your opinion, it is not a defamatory statement. If, like, to make any statement a defamatory statement, first the reputation of the person involved in this, or the reputation of the person who the statement is addressed to, must be tarnished. Some sort of harm, even legal harm or monetary harm, must have taken place to the concerned person or the injured person here. Second would be the statement must refer to the plaintiff. Any statement, for example, let's say that Sameeksha, the speaker, is very bad at it. Now, this is a very specified statement, and if I take it, if the plaintiff, that would be me, takes it in a way that the speaker has said it with malice, would be a defamatory statement. But if the statement would have made a speaker is just bad at it, remains very vague and does not specify who the speaker is, what the speaker is speaking about, as to where the speaker is speaking about, this would not become a defamatory statement, as there is vagueness and ambiguity in it. Third would be the statement must be published. Now, if as I said earlier, the example of Sita, if she just if she would have just put forth this statement that you cheated and bribed your way through exam in her diary, or if she would have said it to her dog, this would not be amounting as a defamatory statement, as no one knew about it, it was not published, and your reputation was not tarnished. But as we discussed earlier through the medium of libel and slander, if she published it through a student forum, or if she spoke about it in a reunion, that would amount as defamation. Now, fourth, we have the statement must be false. Now, to a statement to be a defamatory statement, there needs to be, along with malice, a falsity to it. A statement which is true would be a fact. So, to make it a defamatory statement, there needs to be some sort of falsity attached a lot to it. Now, moving ahead, we have defenses. Now, it might happen like you have stated a statement, or you make a statement, and the person in front of you takes it as a defamatory statement. What defenses would you have in the court of law to protect yourself from this? First is truth. If the statement you have made is truth, it has a truth value, or the as Sita said, like, you copied and bribed your way through the exam, but if you actually did, that will become a fact which can be established with enough evidence in the court of law and would not amount as defamatory statement. Second, we have privileges. Now, privileges are divided into absolute privileges and qualified privileges. Absolute privileges are statements that are made under the law, which are protected by the law. Herein we have MPs that any statement made by MPs in the parliamentary proceeding, or even the judges or the advocates, like statements made by them in the court proceedings, would amount as absolute privileges. And on the other hand, we have qualified privileges, which are like statements made in good faith. So we have if you ask your employer for a review of your job, and he gives down an honest review, which might or might not have statements which do not act against, which do not act in your favor, but they will not amount as defamatory statements, is because it was an honest opinion that was asked from the employer, and they have a qualified privilege for so. So they are protected under law. Third, we have public interest. So if you speak up against any public official, or even anyone in the government, but if you have a public interest in mind, they have actually committed a wrong which might affect the public at large, this would amount as a statement made for public interest with the good faith in mind, and would not amount as defamation. Fifth, we have opinions, not facts. So if you go for a movie and you just give out your review, which is, okay, the movie was bad, the actors might have, actors could have done better. So this is your opinion and not a fact. So any statements that you make for a creative criticism, or a statement, for example, if you analyze For law students, it would be case commentaries or something like that, analyzing the judge's opinion with a categorical thinking in mind, which is like affirmative or giving a positive feedback or genuinely wanting to point out a mistake would be your opinions. And under Article 19, we have your freedom of speech protected. So this uh, exception allows that people have their opinions safeguarded and they do not compile under the defamatory statements. And sixth would be consent. Now, if as a person you have consented to something and the other person uses it, it cannot be a defamation. For example, if you go to a comedy show or like roast shows that happen, and if the talk host or the host of the show takes your consent willfully and roasts you in front of people, you cannot say that okay, you have spoken about that is there on the internet, people have heard it, my reputation is at stake. No, you consented for it and thus the matters went ahead. So anything you consent for and if it turns out against your favor cannot be considered as a defamatory statement. Now, going ahead, we have two classifications of defamation. One would be civil and the other would be criminal. Now, civil defamation, the entire focus here is it involves a lawsuit seeking damages, can be monetary, for harm of reputation. Now, the purpose of civil defamation is to compensate the victim for emotional distress or any loss occurred in their business, or any loss occurred connecting to the defamation made, any losses occurred connected to that, or a mental anguish. Now, coming ahead, we have criminal defamation. Criminal defamation is a defamation punished by law. For the purpose of it is to punish the person who spreads falsehood to damage someone's reputation. Now, clear distinction here is civil defamation focuses more on compensation and recurring all the monetary loss the injured party has faced, whereas criminal defamation focuses more on punishing the defender, and also setting forth an example as to how a person should behave in society morally and also legally. Now, when we talk about more about criminal defamation, like going ahead, the punishments would be prescribed under Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, that is under section 356 of Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. It would be imprisonment up to 2 years with or without a fine, and now the newly added thing to Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita would be with or without community service. Going ahead, we'll discuss a very important landmark judgment, that would be Subramaniam Swamy versus Union of India, Ministry of Law, 2016. In this case, the constitutional validity of the offence of defamation under IPC was challenged against the right to freedom of speech and expression. The two-judge bench of the Supreme Court held that the constitutionality of this, upheld the constitutionality of this offence. The court also stated that protection of reputation is a fundamental right. It is also a human right. Cumulatively, it sends a social interest. Now, to have a little recap, so far we have discussed, first would be the definition of defamation, which is given under section 356 of Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, which was earlier the section 499 of IPC. A note here is how beautifully, the new criminal law covers everything which was earlier in IPC. Defamation ran from section 499 to 502, which is now entirely compiled under one section, that would be section 356. Later, we have discussed who can be defamed. So it is any person, so like any living person. Second, a deceased person. Third would be groups, companies, or association. Going ahead, we discussed two types of defamation, that was libel and slander. So libel was a permanent form of defamation and slander was a temporary form of defamation, wherein libel was for eyes and ears, wherein you took information through any audiovisual medium or is published, publications being ranging from the traditional newspaper going all the way to YouTube videos or even blog posts online. And slander was like defamation made through any spoken or defamation made through any gestures which was connected to mouth. So like whatever you speak or through gestures which is not recorded or not published anywhere would be considered as slander. Moving ahead, we discussed four key elements of what makes defamatory statement a defamatory statement. It was the statement must be defamatory, it must refer to the plaintiff, it must be published, and the statement must be false. So whenever a defamatory case is put forth in front of the judge will try, criticize the entire facts of the case, studying these four elements, and if any of those are missing, it would not amount to as a defamatory statement. The defenses available for a person would be, first, the truth, second would be privileges which were there, then classified into absolute privilege and qualified privilege. So absolute privilege is any statement made, any statement that is protected under law. So for example, we had statement made by MPs or any statements in we come across during a court proceeding. And qualified privilege was a statement made in good faith. Then we had public interest, and then opinion, and then consent. Going ahead, we came across two types of defamation, that was civil and criminal defamation. Civil would be where the focus is more on compensation rather than punishing, and criminal defamation where the focus is more on punishing the criminal and setting a good example of morality and also how the law protects your reputation. And here we studied that punishment under BNS, which would be under section 356 subsection 2, wherein we have imprisonment of 2 years with or without fine, or with and without community services. And then we studied the landmark judgment of Subramaniam Swamy versus Union of India, Ministry of Law 2016, which upheld the constitutionality of defamation. Then that would be it for my side. To successfully conclude, defamation law is all about striking a balance between your right to freedom of speech versus your right to reputation. And another thing I like to remind you, friends, is we all here, we are all 24/7 on, either social media, technology, or anything. So use your words wisely, and that would be it. Thank you.
Sameeksha, thank you very much. You had touched a topic of defamation, which is actually a very huge topic, because there are no prescribed 100% yardsticks to decide whether this is defamation or this is not defamation. So it was nice hearing from you the various concepts you have said, types of defamation and various privileges. So thank you very much. This is a small token from Hammurabi to you.